Hello my lovely floss tube friends. I thought we'd give this a go again. So as you can see, we're going to try the stitch with me. And fingers crossed this goes better than the last time, and the audio is better and the visually you can see it better. I think I'm a bit more set up this time. So today we are going to be stitching on my lovely Heaven and Earth Design Mini Red Queen Red Dragon. Here she is. And this one we are stitching on a 28 count tent stitch. So grab yourself your stitching, your beverage of your choice, and let's get a stitch on. Okay, so I think we're all set up now, at last. It's a good job you can't actually see me, because if you saw this monstrosity on my head, my lovely mag eyes, so that I can see what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, here we go. I have to say a huge thank you to all of the lovely response to the last Stitch With Me video, even though I thought it didn't actually go that well. And the camera angle was all a bit wrong. And the audio was all a bit wrong. But it was from where I was sitting. So yeah. So what do I have to tell you today? Well, I had a very good week at work, because work was actually here for the whole week. So my boss went away on half term with his family, so was completely offline, which was heavenly, because that meant there wasn't any extra work to do. And it gives me the opportunity to stay at home. And I mean, you think that if I'm actually working from home, well, I don't officially have to log in and log on at work until, hold on, I'm counting again. You can tell I'm good at this, can't you? Where are we? 1, 2, 3. That's number 1. 2. I don't officially have to be online until 9 o'clock. My start time is 9 o'clock. But I'm always on board a little earlier than that, purely because it's easier for me to sort of get ahead of the game. But you would think that not having to go into the office and no boss, that I would have a bit of a lay-in, or at least try. But no, my body clock alarm clock is very inbuilt. It's official. No matter how much I try to lay in, my body says no. Along with the dog, of course, because the dog's so used to getting up with me in the mornings at a certain time that he's normally awake by 6, latest, and wants to go out to do his ablutions in the garden. So yeah, so the whole laying in just isn't happening for me. So every day this week, I've still been up and doing by about 6 o'clock, maybe 6:30 some mornings. I must admit, it is refreshing. You'd think it doesn't make that much of a difference, but I find the difference of getting up at 5 in the morning against getting up at 6 in the morning is actually a big difference. A very big difference. I'm just much more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when I get up at that time in the morning. rather than 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, you still actually feel like it's the middle of the night. Well, I do. Especially when I've got to commute into London, which is not my favourite time of year for all the commuting. Don't mind so much in the summer, if I'm honest. But this time of year is awful because it's cold. Right, I'm sorry if I'm not very accurate with my needle here. I'm sitting rather a long way away from the stitching. So even with my mag eyes, I can't truly see the same way as I can when I'm normally stitching. But we'll roll with this. I'll find an easier way, I'm sure. I think this is one of those, keep doing it and try it different ways to get the right setup. So what to tell you? Well, I don't know how long this session's going to last because I'm actually sitting here waiting for my father-in-law to come round and sort out the underfloor heating. So currently I have no heating. My underfloor heating stopped working last night because my stupid husband didn't listen to me in the first place. Actually, it's not his fault. Even if he'd have actually listened to me, there would have been nothing that he could have done about it. So, story is, yesterday whilst I was working from home, and it must have been evening time. I say evening time. It must have been about 5:30, 6. So about 5:30, 6 o'clock, I was out in the utility room loading the washing machine, because obviously Friday night washing is a necessity. And whilst I was sitting there, or standing out there, loading the washing machine, all of a sudden, like, 'cause we've got the boiler, the underfloor heating and the underfloor heating pumps and everything in a cupboard in the utility room. That's where ours is. And all of a sudden, there was this, I can't even describe the noise. I was trying to explain it to my husband and he just looked at me like I was stupid. So I said it was a cross between a clicking noise, like plastic clicking, but grinding as if it's got it stuck. And you know when you get like electrical arcing and it crackles? It was sort of a cross between those sorts of noises, which obviously sent alarm bells for me because I wasn't sure whether it was an electrical thing, because I was like, oh no, what's happening? You know, something's going to blow up or catch fire. I've got a bit of a thing about things like that. So obviously I'm delving around in the utility room cupboard, like in the boiler, where the boiler is. I have no idea what I'm looking at, so I really don't know why I even bothered, to be honest. Trying to work out where the noise was coming from, but it was an intermittent noise. So it would do it a couple of times, and then it would just stop. So by the time I actually called my husband, and I was like, Darren, you need to come in here. And Chris, you know what men are like when you're calling them, like, because we sound like it's sort of like urgent, and they're like, oh, what now, love? You know, that type of a reaction. So he wasn't exactly rushing himself to come to my rescue. And by the time he actually got out there into the utility room with me, the boiler had actually flicked on, whether that be the heating or the hot water, I wasn't too sure. But it stopped doing it. So it's like, what? You know, it really does annoy me when they do that. What? What's wrong? What's wrong with it now? So I was like, it was making a funny noise. He went, no, darling. He said, that's what happens when a boiler comes on. So then it turned into a whole, no, it just made a funny noise. He was like, well, yeah. He said it was probably an airlock then. So I turned around and went, this wasn't an airlock. It didn't sound like bubbling water. I said, and it didn't sound like an airlock. I said, I know what an airlock sounds like. So needless to say, we had the typical, you know, husband and wife debate about what that noise was and whether I actually heard the noise or not. Where am I? Here I am. So yeah. So I'm sitting there saying there's a noise. he's arguing the point and said it's nothing to worry about and it's nothing. So I was like, fair enough, fair play, all right, I'm not arguing with you, as you do, because, you know, gave him the whole wifey huff, like, you're just not being reasonable and not listening because you don't ever listen to me when I think something's wrong. So then he's walked off. So I was like, all right, fine. And fair play, it didn't make the noise again. So I was like, all right, maybe he's right. Maybe it's just me. Maybe. But, you know, when you sort of like, it wasn't, I know something's wrong because I know what sorts of... See, the difference is my husband, although he's the man that fixes everything, he's also not the man that will sit there and, you know, listen to the noises, you know, because you become used to these noises when you spend half your life in your utility room because you've got washing to do, don't you? Well, I do. So I know the noises of my boiler and I know the noises in the utility room. So, and I knew that this noise was not right, but he wouldn't listen. So I was like, okay, whatever. So then the fact that it didn't make the noise again, I was like, okay, I kept the utility door open so that I could listen out for it. But I also left the door to the cupboard that the boiler and the underfloor heating sits in. I left that door open as well so that I could hear. Okay, so I've then carried on with my normal stuff, bits and pieces that I was doing. In actual fact, I was sorting out a video. So I was doing all my bits and pieces, minding my own business. I'm just checking something, sorry. Really not used to this talking and doing something else at the same time, unless it's something I'm actually talking about that I'm doing. So yeah, so I've carried on doing what I was doing. I've gone back into the study and I was in the processes of sorting out one of my videos and doing some, like doing the final editing and running it. So imagine the saga, right? So I've got this new laptop, this new computer, as you all know, that I'm still trying to figure out because it's a bit of a minefield, but I think I've sort of got my head around it now. So I'd basically put the video into my software and I'd done everything I needed to do. I'd done most of my editing. I was just on the very last bit. The very last bit. Lauren was in her room getting herself ready to go round to the boyfriend's. And all of a sudden, we had a power cut. Well, curse. Miss Stupid over here hadn't done any saving of the video. Because I was still editing it. Because I'm like, well, I've not saved it because I've not finished editing it. And obviously we've had this power cut. So, because I'm like, oh my God, no, not again. This can't be happening to me. What is it with me in these videos? So, yeah. Everything's gone off except the lights. So we've got like a circuit breaker thing, which basically cuts the power to certain things. So they're all, so basically the circuit breaker will break the circuit that's got a trip on it, but leaves everything else. So, Kiss, I'm completely losing it. I'm not losing it, but I'm like devastated because I'm like, oh, I've lost my video. So, of course, Lauren's first thing, she's come running out of her bedroom and she's like, what have you done now? So I was like, all the power's gone off. She was like, well, that's all right. She said, you saved it, didn't you? So I said, no. And she was like, Mum, what did I tell you? And I was like, I know what you told me. And I was like, no, I haven't done it. As you do. Right, bear with. I've just got to do some counting. So 2. Right, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that 10 there? Yes. I don't even know why I counted that when I've got the line over there. Oh, dear. So, Chris, you can think, I'm sitting there thinking, that's it, video's gone. Well, Chris, hubby's come out and he's like, don't touch the breakers. He said, I'll do it, I'll flick it back on. Well, Chris, each time he tried to flick the electric back on, it tripped back out again. So then he started to get the hump because he's like, oh no, and he's like, maybe it's one of the garden lights. So then obviously he's turned the circuit off to the garden lights, because sometimes our garden lights tend to trip it out. If we have like a bulb that blows or there's a problem with the wiring out in the garden, it will sort of cause like a bit of a surge, and then it throws the switch off. So obviously he's turned that off to see whether it was that, but it wasn't. So then he turned around and said, well, it must be something in on one of the other circuits. Now the problem we had is the circuit that runs my office is also the circuit that runs the sockets in Lauren's bedroom and the sockets in my study. But we went through everything, like switching different sections off, so living room, dining room, switch those ones off, or switch that circuit off and then run it again, and it blew again. So it just kept doing it. So then eventually we've got to the point that it's like, well, what's causing it? So then he turned around and said, okay, he said, right, go and switch all the plug sockets off in Lauren's bedroom. And then we tried it again. It still tripped out. And literally, when I say it tripped out, it wasn't like it went on, it stayed on for a few minutes or seconds and then went off. It literally flicked straight back off the minute we put it on. So I was like, that can't be good, can it? That really can't be good. So then he's turned around and sort of said to me, right, he said, it looks like it's running off of one of the sections. He said, but that section runs the office, Lauren's bedroom, and the utility room. So I was like, I bet you it's something to do with what was going on earlier. And he was like, what? So I said, when I told you that there was something wrong with the boiler. No, it's not. He said, there's nothing wrong with the boiler. He said, the boiler was running. So I was like, I'm not arguing that point. I said, but it didn't like something. I said, it sounded wrong. No, no, no. He said, it must be something in your study. He said, I do hope it's not your new computer. So I was just like, oh no, please don't tell me my computer's just blown up. So I'm sure he just did it to scare me just a bit more. So we've gone through all of Lauren's sockets. We switched all the power off in Lauren's room, run it back up, no, tripped it out. Went into my office, turned all the plug sockets on, and this was where I was panicking, because I was like, please don't tell me my computer's blown up and that it's got like a malfunction and it's tripping out my electrics. The fact that I'm sort of learning to use it, and obviously that was running and it had my video on it, and I'm like, this will be a nightmare if this is the case. Because I have another story to tell you momentarily, which will really make you laugh, because you'll understand why I'm like, really? So, Chris, when he sort of turned around and said that it's a possibility that it could be that, and that it's actually my office. So, Chris, I'm running around the room, switching off all of the plugs, so that when he puts it back on, there's no power running through any of the plugs, so that there's no sort of issue. As it panned out, when I turned it all off, where am I? When I turned it all off, it didn't fix the problem. So at that point, because, you know, the know-it-all wife over here was like, I hate to say it, dear, but I did tell you so. And he's like, what's that supposed to mean? And by this point, he's starting to get really annoyed, because he was starting to stress a little about the fact that he can't get the electrics to come on without tripping everything. So I turned around and went, well, I did say that there was a funny noise coming from the utility room. So Kirsty's gone into the utility room. And he's like, maybe it's the washing machine. I went, it's not the damn washing machine, dear. I said, it's whatever's going on in the boiler room cupboard. So Kirst, then he's had a little look around and he's flicked off. So we've got the option that we can run the boiler without the pumps for the underfloor heating. So Chris, I said to him, just turn the boiler off, So the thing is, obviously, the underfloor heating doesn't work without the boiler. Where am I? Sorry. That one's that one, that one's that one. Is that one? No. So the underfloor heating won't run without the boiler. But the hot water can run if the boiler's on, but the underfloor heating isn't. So you know when you're sitting there thinking, this can't be good. We've either got no heating or we've got no hot water. I'm pleased to report that when we fiddled around with it a bit more and kept switching boilers off and pumps on and whatevers, it panned out that it's actually the underfloor heating pump that's malfunctioned. So that means we have no heating, but we do have hot water. So I must admit, if someone's going to tell you that, you know, your central heating system's busted or something's wrong, the fact that we've still got hot water so we can still wash is always good. Let me grab a sip of my coffee. So I'm actually waiting for my father-in-law to come round because my husband's had to go to work this morning. To come round and look at the pump, to then give me the code, for me then to go off shopping to a special plumbing shop to see whether I can get a replacement pump and hope that they have a replacement pump. The beauty, I would say the only godsend right now is the fact that although it's a little bit chilly, it's not overly cold right now. So I think we're down to sort of 6 degrees, but up to 14 later today. So it's not freezing. It's not like how it has been. So it's a good job it's happened sort of now rather than later or earlier in the year. Because we had a few days that it was actually really, really cold. But it's whether we can get our hands on a pump. Right, hold on. 3740 we need next. 3740. Oh, sorry if that made a noise. So yeah, so last night, obviously, after my husband had got over his little hissy fit and drama about it all, and then obviously that's what he gave me as a job to do today. So I'm sitting here doing my Stitch With Me video. So if my father-in-law turns up, this video could actually end very abruptly. So I'm forewarning you that may be the case. So, like I said, the other story that I had to tell you, to give you an outline of why yesterday was actually quite laughable in the end and why I'm really not that fazed about it today. So, when I got my new computer about 10 plus days ago, I decided I wanted a new monitor. Like a big one that was easy for me to see. So my adorable husband, which obviously he wasn't adorable last night because he was being horrid, but my adorable husband said, if you want a monitor, sweetheart, he said, I'll buy you a monitor. He said, so what one do you want? Well, Kuss. I said, it needs to be big. I said, and I want one that's got really, really good colour and really good lights for like watching my videos and doing bits and pieces. So he ordered me it was called an open box. And honestly, it sounds, well, to me, when I first sort of realised this, I was like, I've been ripped off. I haven't been ripped off at all. But you understand what I mean. So, because we was looking for this all singing, all dancing monitor, it had to have certain like Hertz values and whatever's according to Lauren. So, you know, Lauren's done sort of the legwork. And it's decided that we're going to go with this one that was, because obviously I didn't want anything that was massively expensive. You know, I'm not paying £1,000 for a monitor, but I wanted as good as I could get for the money. So we found one which is called open box, which basically means it's not a refurb, because they say that the only refurbishment the only thing that it should be able to have is a repair from the manufacturer. Other than that, it's just a returned item that someone's ordered in error or by mistake. So this monitor's turned up. It was huge. Absolutely monstrously huge, but lovely. Well, Chris, I've had it just over a week. Just over a week by the time it turned up. It's been working fine. Absolutely loved it. And then all of a sudden, hold on, just looking for a colour, 552. And then all of a sudden, whilst I was working from home, because obviously I basically am running 2 computers whilst I'm working from home. So I've got my one with my monitor, and then I've got my laptop from work with another monitor that runs that one. That way, I can watch all the floss tube I like whilst I'm working. Because we're officially not allowed to use our company laptops because they have to run on a crosslink, which basically connects us to our networks at work. They can see what it is that we're looking at. So I can't use my company laptop when it's plugged in and I've got it running through the network for all my work stuff and have a screen with, like, you know, floss tube on it. So when I'm at home, I run my own screen with floss tube or an iPad whilst I'm working, just so that I'm listening to it. Like, it's a bit like a radio, but obviously it's not, because I get to see you lovely lot, or for those that do the videos. So that's what I normally do. So I'm sitting there with my YouTube on and working at the same time, and all of a sudden, without any warning whatsoever, all of a sudden the picture disappeared, but it didn't just sort of go black. I just got all these funny, like, purple lines, so that you couldn't actually see the picture completely. You could still sort of see some things, but it was like these purple lines. So obviously when I'm looking at it, I was thinking there's something wrong there. When I've touched the monitor, all of a sudden everything went off and it just turned into a grey screen. And from that point onwards, it wouldn't work. It was just, you could see it had power going to it, but there was no actual screen. So I was like, this can't be happening. It's a brand, you know, it's brand new. So then I've rung the company and ended up having to have a bit of a nightmare with them, because I turned around and said, there's a problem. They said, oh, well, what you need to do, we'll give you a returns label. You need to take the monitor, put it back in its box, take it to a PDP outlet for them to return it. We will then run tests on it and decide whether we're going to, you know, issue you with it, you know, to find out if it's a fault or not. So I was like, well, of course it's a fault. I said, it's not working. And he was like, yeah, but we still have to run our diagnostic test. And I went, well, diagnostic test or not? I said, it's not working. I said, it's no good to me if it doesn't work. I said, so irrespective of whether there's a fault on it or not from your perspective, I said, I should, you know, either get a replacement or a refund. And he was like, oh, we won't do a replacement. He said, it's just a refund. So I was like, but that's no good to me. I said, I need a monitor. I said, not a refund. And he was like, yeah, but you got an open box one. He said, so you had a discount on it. Now, needless to say, I argued my point. I was like, but I've had it less than 10 days. I said, it's just over 7 days that I've had this. I said, that can't be right. Anyway, argued my point with him, didn't get anywhere. We got left with the option that I needed to return the monitor, my own inconvenience, obviously not my expense. They picked up the expense of it, but it's the whole hassle of dismantle the whole thing, rebox it, get it to where it needs to go to. You know what I mean? It's just like, really, does this really need to happen? Why me? What did I do that's so bad? Feeling totally sorry for myself as usual. Anyway, when I've looked on their website to look at their policies, because I was a bit annoyed by the fact that they couldn't just replace the monitor. When I've looked at their policies and then I've gone on to their site, they've actually got brand spanking new versions of the same one that I've got. So I'm like, well, that's a bit stupid. I was like, they have got replacements. yet he's saying that he won't replace it because it's an open box. When I've looked at the price, and this is the bit that, you know, really got me, you're talking a difference of £20. I don't know what that is in dollar conversion. But £20 difference between the open box one and a brand spanking new one. Had I known that at the time, I would have bought the brand spanking new one, if I'm honest. But I didn't know that. So when I've seen that, I was like, that guy's just taking the mick, surely. For the sake of 20 quid. I mean, the 20 quid should be for the inconvenience of me having to rebox this damn thing up and send it back to them when they said that all of their products are tested before they're reissued out to anyone. So, Chris, I phoned him back up, so I turned around and said to him, I said, but you've already, you know, you've got other of these in stock. Yeah, but they're brand new. And I was like, but according to your website, I said, the only repairs that have ever been done to possibly this, because he said, well, yours might have been refurbished. And I went, hold on a minute. I said, your website says that they don't do refurb. And he was like, well, yeah. He said, manufacturer repair is refurb. And I was like, well, it's not, is it? I said, because if it's been manufacturally repaired, I said, that also gives me manufacturing, like, guarantee rights, I said, for a new product. I said, because you're selling it as new. And he went, well, it's not. He said, because it's open box. And I was like, no, but if it needed a repair, I said, and it was repaired at any time, it would have been repaired by the manufacturer. I said, and if anything goes to a manufacturer, I said, and then is reissued out to a customer, that entitles me to 12 months guarantee. I said, because the product is then sold as new. It's as a new product because it's been repaired by the manufacturer. Anyway, we've argued this point. He weren't having none of it, would you believe? So he's basically turned around and said, well, I'm sorry. He said, there's nothing we can say or do. He said, we can't offer you a brand new one. He said, because they're £20 more. So I was like, well, fine, I'll give you 20 quid. I'll give you another 20 quid. You just send me out a new version. I said, and you'll get this one back. Still, he weren't having none of it. Just why? Why? Why does it have to be so difficult? So then, as you can imagine, I had to get my husband involved because he's much better at arguing than I am because I'm not overly confrontational, although the guy was starting to get the wrath of Teresa. But I got to the point where I was starting to lose my temper with him and I wanted to call him names. And I thought I'd best not do that because that's not going to get me anywhere. My diplomatic approach obviously didn't work with this guy. And the fact that I wasn't a guy and obviously wasn't talking the right jargon. So needless to say, hubby called him up. He got nowhere either, but he did understand where the guy was coming from and said that it's something to do with the way their policies work because obviously one is a brand new item. Because I said to the guy, if I'd have bought a brand new one, I said, and the same thing would have happened. I said, would you have said the same thing? And he went, no. He said, we'd just replace it. So I was like, well, there you go then. And he's like, yeah, but you haven't bought a new one. He said it was an open box version. So this whole open box thing, never again. That's all I'm saying. I'm never buying an open box anything. So, needless to say, I have ended up having to 3688. Where am I? 36. I've had to send the other one back via the PDP for them to do their testing before they give me a refund. And buy a brand new one. So I've now paid for two monitors, basically. And I've got to wait for my refund back because I couldn't wait for the monitor. And literally, I had the monitor the next day, the new one. So I'm like, so you're very good at dishing out as long as people pay through the nose for it, obviously. Of course, it would be wrong not to have a camera failure. So we just had our camera failure. So I don't know, well, I'm trying to work out whereabouts it went off. So anyway, as I was saying, needless to say, monitors, that was a complete pain in the butt. And I know for next time, I'm sorry about the jiggling, people. I've just realised I've just loaded up the wrong colour. Have I? Yeah, I have as well. All right, we'll put that one over there. So yeah, so I'm waiting for my refund. My new monitor turned up the next day, which was fabulous. So the service as far as delivery is great. They just like to, you know, make you pay through the nose for everything. So yeah, so as you can imagine, with the whole, you know, problem with the monitor after the problems with the new software and new computer to start with, now the underfloor heating's packed up, it's yeah, it's been an interesting few days, but I will not complain, because it could be a lot worse, couldn't it? And it was my husband's birthday on Thursday, which, love him. I won't tell you how old he is, but needless to say, he's getting on a bit now, the poor old boy. So, would you believe, for his birthday, he attended his first ballroom dancing session, which was hilarious, because he's not what I would call the most flexible of people by any stretch of the imagination. So, but he did really well, actually. I was quite surprised. You know when you're like, not sure. I mean, bearing in mind, my husband's like a complete fitness freak who does a lot of physique work. So he's built very big. And obviously, someone as big as him, graceful and my husband don't sort of go together, the whole two words. It's just not graceful, because he's as big as he is. But he actually did not too bad. And he actually quite liked it. I think at first he was like a bit, I don't think I'm going to like this. But he actually really enjoyed it. So, and as I said, at least that way we can do things, you know, there's something, there is a hobby or something that we are capable of doing together. So yeah, so there you go. I think we're nearly at the end of a square. I can't believe it's took me that long to stitch this square, can you? You believe that? Actually, with the way my week's going, you can. But then this is a HAED, so, and it is a bit all over the place. There's just, I'm in one of those areas where there's a lot going on. Where am I looking? No, that isn't anywhere, so we'll just cut that off somewhere. I need to try and find a way to stop my frame from actually moving around. When it's on the camera, I don't know if it's because I have it zoomed quite close so you can see, but when I'm stitching it doesn't seem to move around very much, but when it's actually being recorded, it looks like it's wobbling around all over the place. I don't really know how to get around that. Maybe that's something else that I need to work. I think that will do for today. There you go. I've told you all my woes. I've told you everything that's been happening in my life this week. I'm back into the office next week, which I'm not looking forward to, but it is what it is, and it definitely pays the bills. And if I don't get my underfloor heating sorted out, or even if I do, I have a sneaky suspicion that it's not going to be a cheap fix, because it never is. So yeah, so I definitely need to go to work next week. So on that note, people, I will love you and leave you. I hope you're all doing really well, and I hope this video is actually better for you to see, and that the audio is slightly better than last time. So fingers crossed I will master this technique, because it is like its own little art form. So until next time, people, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for stitching with me. and I'll see you all again very soon. So bye bye for now.